Here's a technique that I've been having a really good time with lately, and I say that because a really good time just means I've been having a lot of luck with it, and I found it's been working well for me over the last couple of months here. And it's actually something, I showed something similar to it on Photoshop TV. If you don't watch it, you can go to photoshoptv.com, but that's besides the point. I showed something similar on the show, but what I like to do here on the NAP site is when I come up with a follow-up to it, when I come up with something that I think makes it better, I like to kind of give you guys a little bit something extra. So if you didn't see it on Photoshop TV, follow along. If you did, I'm going to go through it again. I've made a couple changes that I think make it better, and then I'm going to show you a great way to finish it off in the end. So what we're going to do here is go to the bottom of the layers palette and create a curves adjustment layer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add lighting to this picture here, almost as if it's fill light that wasn't used when the photo was taken, but we're going to add it in after the fact. Now I've got this small grid here. You can hold down that Alt key option on the Mac and you can click in the grid to change it. So it doesn't really matter at this point. All I do is bow this curve upward and I make the whole photo brighter, and at this point I really don't know how much brighter I want it. I just move it up so I can see it and click OK, because we'll always be able to go back and change it. Now one thing you'll notice here is that the photo is way too bright. So what I want to do is selectively bring back light into places that I want to draw people's attention to, especially on the face here, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, almost as if fill light was used there. So what I'm going to do is, if I fill this, see this little layer mask over here? If I were to take my paint bucket tool, set my foreground to black, and just click on the image, see what happened there? Let me undo. It was white and now it's black. Oh, I undid too far. There we go. It was white and now it's black. So that's white and then that's black. So as you can see, when it's white, well, I can see all the effects of that curves adjustment layer, but when it's black, I don't see any of the effects of that curves adjustment layer. So that stands to reason, if I grab my brush and I select white as my foreground color, why not just start painting on here to start showing through the effects of that adjustment layer. So I'm going to reduce the size of my brush, and watch this. I'm going to paint with white. Maybe drop your opacity down to maybe about 70%. If you've got one of those pen and tablets, this is a great time to use it. I just happen to just be doing with this a brush right now, but this is a great time to use that pressure sensitivity. And watch this. Look at that. Just start painting a little bit of light right back into that photo. Maybe up on the hair here. Just on some areas that we want to draw attention to, okay? And I show you the before and after. That's before, that's after. It's a very subtle change, but I think it makes a nice overall impact in the photo, because to me, she almost looked like she was a little bit too much in the shadows here. And after, I think it adds a real nice lighting effect, and then you can just drop your opacity down. Now let's take a look at another photo here. And I'll do the same trick. I will go to the bottom of the layers palette. I'll add a curves adjustment layer and then just move my curve upward. Click OK. Now, incidentally, one thing I forgot to show you, let's go back to this one. Remember how I said I don't know if it's too light or too dark in the beginning? Well, you can just double click on that curve adjustment, and now I can come in here and reel it back in, or I can decide I want to make it brighter altogether. So that's the benefit of using that curves adjustment layers. You can always double click and edit the curve. Okay, now let's get back to this one. So I added my curve adjustment layer. That's before, that's after. We're probably a little bit too bright right now. So what we'll do is fill that layer mask with black, and we just click on the layer to target it. And the easy way to fill with black is just set your foreground to black and use your paint bucket, and that fills it with black. There's a shortcut key. You can hold down Alt Backspace and Option Delete on Mac to do it as well. And then we'll take our brush, set our foreground to white, and I'll do the same thing here. Start painting in some light back onto the photo. See that? Look at that. Adds a real nice effect here. Just selectively paint some light right back in, just to almost make it look like we used a little bit of fill light here when we really didn't. And especially I like it around the eyes, just to kind of make those eyes pop out a little bit more. That's what people are going to be drawn to. Now, as I look at this photo, the before and then the after, as I look at this photo, it looks a little bit harsh to me. Right along here and right along here. It looks a little bit harsh. So there's a way to fix this, and that is if I hold down the Alt or the Option key, Alt on PC, Option on Mac, and I click on this layer mask over here, see what happens? It shows me what's on this layer mask. And it's just a combination of black and white, just white brush strokes on top of that black background. Well, this layer mask is actually just like any other layer, which means that I can apply a filter to it. So if I can apply a filter, I can go to Blur, and then I can go down to Gaussian Blur, and watch what I can do. We'll increase the radius, and we'll start spreading out those edges to make them a little bit softer. So now, that's before, and that's after. See how we've spread the edges out? Do it a little bit more here. Don't go too far, but we can get away with pretty good amount here. For a low-res photo, you're probably looking at about 8 or 9 pixels, and for a high-res photo, you might be looking somewhere up in the 15 to 20 range. So that's before, and that's after, so I'll click OK. And then let's hold down that Alt or Option key once again and click on that layer mask. And now let's take a look here. I'll go to my history palette, and you can see the effects. This was before the Gaussian blur, and this is after the Gaussian blur. See how it kind of just smoothed out that transition. And if it's not enough, if you need to take it even further, then just go to Filter, Gaussian blur, and run it again. So now that's before and that's after. So that's a way that you can take this effect further and even smooth it out. So you're not quite spending so much time brushing. Just use that filter to kind of give you a quick way to just even out that lighting that you've added inside here. Well, that's it for this video. Again, I really enjoyed this technique. I find I use it a lot lately, and not just on portraits, but I found that I use it on just about any type of a photo where I want to add some lighting and just draw people through the photo in a very specific way. So don't just use it on portraits. Get out there and experiment to see how else you can use it.